How's it going? My name is Nick, and I just want to say first, I appreciate you. Thank you for subscribing to Roll Coverage. It really helps us out a lot. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. Otherwise, just sit back and get ready. It's time to Roll Coverage.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Nope. They Roll Coverage.
Okay, guys, we are back. Dave Canales is doing more pressers about once a week, maybe 2 a week, giving us a little bit of an update of what's going on with our Carolina Panthers. If you haven't followed me, you need to make sure you do, because I did a 9-part Dave Canales series. I have broken down all of his press conferences as a Carolina Panther, including some when he was a Buck, where I even predicted that he would get a head coaching job. So, without further ado, let's go.
Good practice today. I think one of the things that strikes me about this group is because of the veteran leadership, you know, they know how to practice in this mode in the spring where we're just in helmets. But I can feel the way that they're getting their work in, they're getting their assignments. It's full speed up until, and they've just been really taking care of each other. So I appreciate that. You know, I haven't really had to address too much in that regard. And then it makes it easier because a lot of the young guys who haven't been in this mode before, they used to being padded up, they just get to follow their lead. And like I've said before too, it's the work ethic of guys like Derek Brown. You know, our best players happen to be our hardest workers. And so it doesn't leave a lot of space for the rest of the group to kind of pick and choose what they're going to do. They just got to go. They got to go hard and they got to work at it, the individual drills, all that stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to start off with that, just kind of let you know I'm really pleased with that type of chemistry in practice.
Yeah, so interesting way to start the press conference. Obviously, Dave is a high energy, not oversharer, but he's a very descriptive sharer of information. But we also know that he is not a big person on negative reinforcement, especially when it comes to the media. We've heard him speak out about that. So this is the way that I expect him to handle press conferences. We've had some before where he kind of looks a little timid, and then you can kind of see, it kind of looks like he's behind the 8 ball, we'll say. This one doesn't seem like that. He seems much more cool, calm, collected, ready to deliver information, but that does kind of seem like a rehearsed start to this press conference. Just saying, I'm not dogging Derek Brown. I like Derek Brown. I'm just saying that seems rehearsed by Dave. So let's hopefully get some better insight into the team.
Dave, Xavier Leggett didn't practice today.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, just a precaution. You know, I think he's been, what happens a lot with rookies is they come out here, it's a different level of work, and it's not that they haven't practiced this long, but everyone's fast. Everyone's going, you know, and of course they're with their wheels turning, there's a strain on the brain, there's also a strain on the body. And so for him, he just kind of looked a little bit stoved up yesterday, and we just, as a precaution, said we need to pull back a little bit and just make sure we're smart with this at this point, you know, in our program and what we're doing, you know, with our sights on training camp and all that.
Okay. Well, that is something that Dave talked about in the press conference, especially when he talked about learning the scheme, teaching rookies and everything like that. He wants to remove the mental aspect from it. So you heard him make sure to say a physical and the mental aspect when talking about XL. So with that, I think that's indicative of him saying that XL hasn't necessarily, he's not 100% on the playbook. Nobody's expected to be that. I don't want this to be like I'm coming after XL because I like it. I just don't love it yet. Again, I'm one of those people, I just need to see it on the field. But with what he's saying, I like it. I like that he's at least observing that and acting on it, to be honest with you. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy. He doesn't have to go out there and be like, hey, man, you can't practice for a week. But the fact that he's watching these guys and he's like, hey, man, this seems a little off. Why don't you just take a seat? I like that. Let's see if it pays off, because I sure hope it does.
Overall lag, or was there a soft tissue, or what?
Yeah, he looked tight, you know, and so, yeah.
Okay. Interesting that he doesn't confirm, deny, do anything. Obviously, this is, you know, early. They're not going to say anything just for fear of like a flag going up being like, oh my God, he's hurt already, like that kind of thing. So I understand why he's going to kind of maneuver around this a little bit.
Yesterday he just had a moment in practice where he started to slow down. The trainers started talking to him immediately. He was like, all right, well, let's not throw him back out there. Let's not just try to rebound. Let's be smart about it at this point. So
I would agree. Don't risk anything right now. Now is the time to recover. Good advice from the trainers. Better than our last trainers, I'm saying. or at least that's what everybody said.
Bryce runs around a little bit after doing, like in between drills and practice.
Yeah.
But to me, it seemed like it was more running by him today. I don't know if that was intentional or not. Did you notice that he was doing that running?
In the drills or in between?
In between, like if,
Yeah.
as they switch drills, he'd like be at the starting line, he'd just race to the other side.
Yeah, it's so athletes first. The quarterbacks, you got to remind them, you guys are athletes first. And so you're going to have to run for your life at times. We need to train that type of sprints, those short bursts somewhere. Because a lot of times when the scramble play happens, and I really try to ask them not to just throw the ball away. I know that there's a time for that, when they're managing the game. But really what happens is, in a game, you're going full speed all of a sudden, and you've been just kind of operating from the pocket or carrying out fakes and things like that. So we have to be able to simulate that type of work. Look at how much mileage everybody else is getting. Well, they're the same. They're athletes first. So that's a big request of mine. And so they kind of take care of that in between routes on air by sprinting those 30 or 40 yards.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. That's a W right there. That's a W answer. I like that. We always knew about Aaron Rodgers, grounding the ball, just hucking it out of bounds. And you knew that's how he was kind of managing it. But we also heard reports post-Packers, obviously a little bit sidetracking of this, where he was literally intentionally doing it when he didn't like the play. Bryce is like, hey, man, I'm getting crushed on some of these sacks. So he's like, hey, man, you got to start training. You got to start getting your body ready to do that burst. Because if some dude's coming at you, he's already probably been running 10, 15 yards to get to you. He's already got a full head of steam behind him. So you got to be able to quickly get out there. So I do like that. Anything to improve Bryce's stability, his accuracy, his awareness, anything like that to improve my quarterback, I'm totally for. Period. I'm not even going to argue. This is a W.
Dave, Eddie Pinheiro, any update on communication with him?
Nope. No, this is a whole big thing. People have been talking about this. I don't really care. If we're having issues with kickers, we just need to go get another one. Kickers, punters are not supposed to be distractions, especially. It's just an interesting one. Obviously, Eddie is a good kicker, but there comes a time where the coach is going to have to make a decision. But I do think Eddie will eventually be on the team.
Watched Harrison kick today. He did great. He nailed all of his kicks, hit about a 57 or 58 yarder today. So we're doing a great job here.
He hit some rugby kicks as well. Did you notice that?
I did not see that.
On that strained ankle.
Yeah, I didn't see some of those, but I'm curious to see what other pitches he has in his arsenal.
Good kick yet? Because he hasn't on the days when we've been here.
I think he just likes you guys. So, because I think he's had 2 misses. It was like 1 a day early on, and it was like somewhere in the middle of his kicking sessions, he bounced back and then made the next couple. And I can't, I don't want to discount him. He's a rookie, comes out here and everybody's watching. The head coach is sitting there watching, and he's done a great job just being able to handle that kind of pressure, and he looks calm, he looks focused. So he's doing a really good job for us right now.
Jansen yelled out.
I like that. I do like the opportunity of us looking towards the future. Obviously, we're building for Bryce, so we're building for the next decade or more. So I like bringing in younger guys. I like building that core up all together. Obviously, when it comes to pay everybody, that's going to be a little tight, but we do have one of the richest owners. I'm just hoping he can, take some of that money out of his pocket and put it into some of the players' pockets. But regardless, this is a good look for Dave so far. This is an A+ press conference from me so far. I'm super happy.
Something about 77 yards. Was that a punt or a kick? I heard him say the media. Here comes the media, and they missed it. He said it was something about 77 yarder.
I think he's messing with you. I don't know, but
Back to my question.
Yeah.
Speak to the quarterback depth. And your first impressions on Smith Wade and the update on Gilmore.
QB depth first. Oh, cornerback depth. Yeah, competitive group. We have some guys that are young players that have had a year in the system that I'm excited to see. Deshaun Jameson, DiCaprio Boodle, Lamar Jackson. He's been in here for a couple of years, but in this system, just with I think he was with the Jero in Denver. I can't quite remember, but I know he's had a little carryover. So I'm really excited to kind of watch that group come together, and I think the cool part is the guys that were here last season, That's okay. Am I up? Is that it? I got 45 seconds out. So anyway, about Shaw Smith-Wade, I like this. Let's keep it on a play clock, right? But yeah, so I love that group. I love the just the way that it's coming together, because of just the knowledge of the system is huge. The calls that happen with shifts and motions, and we try to strain them, and they have to be able to communicate. So that's the part where you can see some of the younger guys are starting to learn, starting to get that. Shaw Smith-Wade has been doing a great job. He's a worker. These are to a man, the guys that we drafted, these guys are hard workers and tough football players, and that's what we tried to do is profile those type of guys that fit what we're doing. He fits right in with the group. He's active. He's always working on stuff, jugs after practice, and I just love his focus. He's got a great smile, but then you see like he's just locked in, and he's really interested in what's happening everywhere. So.
Okay, I like that. My biggest concern with our defense is pass rush, and of course, secondary. Losing Brian Burns, I feel like is going to hurt us, but Josie could move into that pretty easily. We haven't gotten Gilmore, and I don't think we should really explore that. I feel like betting on a 33-year-old corner is not really the best, but if he can shore up the secondary just a little bit, that might be enough. So I'm not necessarily opposed to it. Overall, though, I think that this is great. He wants workers. He wants guys to work hard. But normally those guys are, good in college, developed well, and everything like that. So we're really betting on guys that are hard workers, but really didn't show the extra in college with some of these guys. Mainly a Shaw Smith-Wade. He did good in college, but was he a top tier at his position? No, he was still pretty mid to lower. But could he develop in 2 or 3 years? Absolutely. Could Boodle? Yeah, absolutely. So this secondary needs to grow with Bryce, but we still need to figure out a way to elevate it now, and I just don't know what to do at that secondary to really help. So what's your thoughts? Dave didn't give his.
Coach, Terrence Marshall Jr. hasn't really been able to kind of get his footing with the previous coaching staffs. What are some of the things you've seen from him early on?
Before he goes into it, I love TMJ coming out of college. I thought he could have been anything like those LSU guys that came out, Jefferson, Chase, all that jazz. But he just hasn't gotten the opportunities, nor has when he's come on the field. Obviously, he's coming onto the field, having not played as many snaps, gotten the targets and everything, so he's not able to establish the rhythm. He's needing to come in, make one catch, and then go sit down. So that's obviously got to be hard. But regardless, I want to see really where the head coach is with him.
He's been reliable. He's doing what we're asking him to do. He's running the right routes. You can see that this is a big man with speed in there, and I think that the more comfortable he's getting with our system, with our concepts, the faster he looks. And so, I'm really curious to see where he takes that this year. I know that he's had a couple of years here and really hasn't produced to the potential of what people might think. But hopefully we'll create an environment where he's able to get onto our offense and be able to show us something, especially when we get into more competitive settings.
Absolutely. And now I'm going to put this graphic up. Tell me your thoughts. Where are you at with this? Because these are what Bryce is dealing with. These are the rankings of the wide receivers. And I just don't think that's enough to win. Is that hard to say? I mean, I just don't think that these rankings of these wide receivers, of course, based on last year, previous situation, I completely understand that this is in a vacuum. But can they really excel to the next level? That's what we're hoping for. Again, I just want to see it.
So much was made of your offensive acumen when you came in, and I'm curious how your relationship with Ejero is building and how much you rely on him considering your background.
Yeah, there's just it started off early in the spring, just going through the first wave of installs. Excuse me. In our self-scout mode, we're just watching our film, and so I was able to sit in with the defensive staff, and I probably saw about 75% of the self-scout. I got pulled to different meetings, but I try to make a point to be in there to just ask questions. I've been curious about how they've gotten to certain adjustments, so it's kind of, without giving too much, it's just one simple call becomes a lot of things based on the formation and the motion of what the offense does. And so that part helps me because we're going to see this scheme a lot, the same way that some of our principles are kind of starting to spread out through the league offensively. The same thing's happening from a defensive standpoint where a lot of teams are playing this scheme.
Okay, so is he saying that their scheme is more of like a Baltimore, San Francisco, distribute, get people in space, and then let playmakers make plays? Like, really, where is he going with this? Hopefully explain it, or he expands on it. And also, again, somebody needs to get this man chapstick and some water.
So just being able to pick his brain, Coach Capers, pick his brain as well. And then as we're planning these days, we set a schedule. We set the plays out, but at the same time, it's a daily thing. What do you need to see more of? What gives you problems that you'd like to troubleshoot? And so we've just had a good back and forth, even situationally, 2-minute situations we're getting in walkthrough right now. Some of the red zone stuff. So we're just trying to sprinkle in different situational ball and then trying to really hone in on issue plays. This pressure is an issue for our protection. This pass concept is an issue for the defense, and making sure that we sprinkle those in throughout the day so we can troubleshoot.
Okay, I like that. I think that's something that I always thought maybe Brady and Belichick did. If they didn't, you can correct me now in the comments. But I always thought of the reason why they worked so well together is because Bill was such a defensive and football savant. Like, knew the rules to the letter, and was really able to get the most out of everything that he could. And Brady was obviously a tactician when it came to the offense, when it came to audibles and all that other stuff. So he's able to go out there and execute the offensive vision at a world-class level as well. So when they go into meetings, Tom Brady goes, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then Belichick goes, okay, well, I know how to stop this. And then Brady goes, oh, well, I'm going to go here with it. And he's like, okay, well, if this corner plays this route right, it'll be a pick or whatever it may be. And it's interesting to see the chess match. I wish we had like a video of them like behind the scenes and everything like that. I haven't watched the documentary, so it might be in there. But overall, that's how I imagine it. So I would love to see Dave and Evero just kind of go back and forth and really not only establish their own rapport with each other, but also something where they're able to bounce it off at a level where they're just excelling. They don't look at it as, oh, hey, I'm beating the Packers. They're like, I'm beating him. I'm beating this coach that I work with all the time because I play against him all the time, and he's thinking like the other coaches. He's doing this. He's doing that. So I think that could be an interesting dynamic to it as well.
I'm sorry, really quick. Did you get a chance to scout the Tampa Bay games from last year, and was that maybe a unique experience for you to kind of see yourself on the other side of it?
I have, and I can't say that we did a full workup on the offense, but where it's happened naturally is as we put in a new offense, a lot of the examples we're showing are from Tampa. They are from Seattle, from years past, because we just have, 10 years of different concepts being run against different defenses. So it's happened a little bit by default, and it's kind of, I think it's been an advantage just to be able to have it fresh. And even last year to kind of see the growth of the system, where we didn't start, game one in Tampa with the whole system. We had to kind of become something. And then we started to get a rhythm later in the year. So that part's been good, too, to just show the guys. It's going to take time, and we will figure out what works for us.
One of your players said that this offense...
Hey, fair. And that's what I want him to do. I want him to work it to the personnel. Last year's personnel was built for Stroud. Of course, we see the most recent podcast where we saw this.
What's the craziest thing ever said to you?
I can tell you what my teammates said about somebody else. I don't be.
Oh, yeah.
All right, he crazy, he funny. So we playing the Panthers, bruh, and it's 4th and 1 on the goal line. We call it a QB sneak. I sneak it in, and mind you, I'm already hot because the Panthers ain't drafting me. So I'm like, all right, like I'm about to show these cats.
Yeah.
And like for some reason, we just ain't really like we didn't mesh well that day. Like I only threw for like 140 yards, like lowest in my career. It was crazy. So and they was a nothing. But so I sneak it in. I score. I throw the ball. Bitch, I'm talking to the crowd, going crazy. And then bruh came, and he was like, CJ, you ain't even like that. This one of the, I don't even know bro name. You ain't even like that.
Safety?
You ain't even like that. Yeah, he was a safety.
Number 40 something.
Yeah, 42. And
he was talking
Titus,
crazy.
Titus was like, why your side tooth missing? And bruh hold like his.
So obviously Stroud wanted to be a Panther, thought he was going to be a Panther, and then, that whole thing transpired. So with all of that, I want everybody to build it for Bryce. We need to build everything for Bryce moving forwards. I don't think we should double and triple down. I don't think we should overpay. but I do think that we should commit to this quarterback for this year and most likely next year as well. Unless we just are gifted the first round pick again, I probably wouldn't take a quarterback then, to be honest with you. I'd probably trade that pick away or go try and get somebody to help out Bryce Young, but we'll see.
It's perfect for a tight end. Kind of describe what that means to you.
Yeah, so I think it's tight end friendly. We don't ask our tight ends to really be dominant blockers at the point of attack on runs.
This has been the big one. I heard this part of the clip. Normally I don't listen to these ahead of time, but this part I did hear at one point, and it's an interesting one because we have Ian Thomas, Tommy Tremble, Jatavian Sanders. Great tight end group. If you kind of want to do a weird tight end focused, I should say, passing game, I think that could work out well. But if that's the case, then are we having them do like, a quick block and then they're, shedding the block to go out to try and catch a ball? Is there going to be some fake stuff where maybe we pitch it to Jonathan Brooks and he pitches the ball or passes the ball to somebody? I think that trickery could be in the tool bag this year.
A lot. We will ask them at times, but within our system, we use their skill sets, and we're looking for tight ends with versatility. We're not necessarily looking for that big 270-pound mauler type of tight end, although those guys are awesome and they have a place in the...
Yeah, they do have a place, but what about somebody like George Kittle? He's not 270 pounds. At least I don't think so. If I'm wrong, I'm going to pop it here on above screen.
This league. But if you have a smaller guy who's more of a route runner and he's a little bit crafty, then at the run, you can slide him back and block a defensive end on the backside. You can send him up away from a defensive end, in or out, depending on where his alignment is. And so that allows him to get better matchups in blocking. Linebackers, safeties, sometimes corners, that then becomes our advantage. So that part of it's really friendly for the tight ends. And then just within the scheme, because we throw a lot of play actions, the tight ends are involved in different ways. Just getting them in the flat, dragging them underneath the linebackers. The ball finds those guys a lot because we ask them to block, and then all of a sudden they're bluffing the linebacker, and they show up on the other side. Tommy had a great example of that today. We're pulling to one side, he ends up all the way on the other side of the defense because they have to fit their gaps. So I think that's probably what they're talking about, and we love using our tight ends that way. Sometimes 3 tight ends, in different sets.
Totally awesome. 3 tight end set will be really interesting, but if that's the case, that means that we're taking either a running back out or we're taking out some more wide receivers. So obviously that's going to hurt wide receiver, receiving numbers, passing numbers. So that's kind of an interesting one. I do like the idea that we're going to be a lot more focused on play action, I apologize, and the run game. I love that. I just don't know if the defense can hold up their end of the bargain. Again, I'm pessimistic when it comes to the defense this year. I feel like the offense goes up, defense goes down, whereas last year it was the opposite. So.
The Jets head coach announced plans for a joint practice. How did that come about? What's your relationship with him?
Robert Saleh and I were quality control coaches together with the Seahawks. We were together for Super Bowl 48, and then he left shortly after that. So we have about a 13 or 14 year relationship, and we were able to practice with them last year in Tampa, and so we just kind of talked about doing that again. It's a great advantage for us because we play so much 5-man front type of defense, and so he's more the traditional 4-3 defense. We need that work. They ask their defensive ends, their tackles, to play aggressively up the line of scrimmage, and so that's a lot different than the way we play our 2-gap systems where guys are kind of keeping their shoulders square and staying in gaps. So we need the different part of that rush. It feels totally different to the offensive line, to the running backs, and the way we do that. So I can't wait to do that. And then our relationship, of course, will just allow us to make sure we can kind of de-escalate any type of situations that might start to arise there, where we can shift and really, take care of it that way.
Okay, I like that. Plus, we also need to get our new 2 big offensive linemen involved in it. Corbett was moved to center, so there's some stuff we really got to figure out on the offensive line. That's going to be a big point where the offensive line is ranked at the end of the year. If they end up in the top 10, 15, I feel like the offense could be very potent. But if we end up in the 15 to say 25, we're going to struggle a little bit more than we should, and Bryce is going to need to elevate us past that offensive line deficiency. So that's going to be a big point at some point in this next season.
Steve, obviously it's going to be a little bit before you guys are in pads and doing contact things. What can you learn about an offensive line this time of year and kind of how they're progressing, specifically with Icky?
Yeah.
Is he drinking Dasani? If he's drinking Dasani, that is exactly why. He's always got chapped lips, and this man's drinking so much water, he feels like, it literally looks like he's up there dying, like he's got sand coming out of the corners of his mouth.
Yeah, so communication, first and foremost, we got to talk. And it starts with the center, goes out to the guards, out to the tackles. The tackles have to talk to the tight ends with the different protections and runs. So it's communication first and foremost. If it's quiet, it's wrong. The guys should be chattering the whole time, making adjustments and things like that. And then on top of that, just the premium of the type of individual drill work that we get, footwork, hand placement, pad level, all of those things, working different types of combos. So there's really a lot to take away from. At this point in guys' careers, the padded practices are for the game conditioning. We're not worried about our guys being able to play in pads. They can all play tackle football now, so those, I just kind of remind our guys, we need to be able to practice in this mode with intentionality, where we can't say, well, now I'll turn it on now that we have pads. Guys, no, we have to be great with our technique even while we don't have our pads on. I think that's kind of, hopefully that answers the question a little bit.
Sorry.
That's a good one. I like that. Emphasizing that it's always time to have the flip switch. There's not going to be a time where it's going to be like, hey, man, I just need you to go half measure or anything like that. So I like that sense of urgency coming from Dave.
With Icky, you have a young developing player who struggled last year and plays a position that is under a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah.
How do you kind of help coach him up heading into this year, your first year with him?
It's a great system for tackles. We run the ball. We throw play action passes, which engages as a run first, gives them a little chance to get their hands on a guy and be physical. We run boots, okay, our keeper game, where the line is really just selling a run the opposite way. And then in our pass game, the basis of it is to get the ball out quickly. When we do have to hold it, we'll try to help our tackles as much as possible when we can. Sometimes we can't. We got to call that player into protection at times, but it's a really friendly offense for tackles. We know when it becomes a passing game, the advantage is for the rushers, and that's where we at times, we ask the tackles to hold up here. But then there's also that it's the war of attrition, right? It's like both guys are starting to get a little bit tired, and so it evens the playing field out. But I think Icky has been doing a great job. What does he do best? He is a mauler, and we're going to run the ball. And I think when guys are able to just be aggressive and play to their nature, it gives them a lot of confidence in everything else that they do. So I'm excited about where he's at and what we're going to be doing this year.
Shout out to the Carolina Panthers, as always. Make sure you subscribe to the Carolina Panthers YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and everything. That's where we're able to see these press conferences and truly do these breakdowns. My final thoughts on Dave Canales' press conference is that he spoke well, very attentive, telling you kind of what's going on without giving up too much, really hitting on the scheme and wanting guys to truly understand the game second nature as opposed to having to think and then react. So I love that. So far, all signs point to north when it comes to things being better. I'm still going to put our prediction probably south of 6 wins. But if we end up with more, I'll be super happy, and Dave will get the credit for it. I just need to see it. Like I said, show me preseason game 1. I am back on the bullet train with the Carolina Panthers. But right now, I'm a little hesitant. I need to see it. So just tell me your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to us. Make sure you follow us. And get more videos like this on the regular. Otherwise, my name is Nick. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.